hard copy of the agenda? Yes, I do. Oh, boy, you're looking after me.
So the noise, isn't it?
What's that?
That hard
Oh,
copy.
God, yeah. All right, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the January 12th, 2023 West Elgin Council meeting. To those that are joining us online, thank you for spending some time with us. We'll call the meeting to order at
9:32 a.m.
and with
For
that,
9:32 a.m.
we do have the adoption of the agenda and the recommendation that West Elgin Council hereby adopts the agenda as presented. Mover and seconder, please.
Make that motion.
Okay, Bill and Teresa. That is carried. Certainly a reminder to disclose any pecuniary interest. We have one this morning that Deputy Mayor Leatham is declaring a pecuniary interest on a road allowance closure. So noted. We'll enter into our next order of business, which is a public meeting. If you'd read the recommendation, Madam Clerk.
The council proceed into public meeting pursuant to subsection 7(6) of the Building Code Act RSO 1992 as amended to allow for public comments on a proposed building department fees.
Right. So we'll call this meeting to order at.
Oh, I need a mover and seconder, sir.
Mover and seconder for the recommendation. Moved by Michelle, seconded by Richard. Oh, Richard, you got a conflict. You probably.
No, he doesn't have a conflict on that one. sir.
Oh, okay, that's right. Moved by Michelle, seconded by Richard. All in favor? That is carried. So we'll call this public meeting to order at.
It is 9:33 a.m.
Who's making the presentation for proposed building fees?
I believe, Magda, are you doing it? Or does Jackie is on the meeting?
Jackie's on the meeting.
Yeah.
Are you here, Jackie?
Jackie, are you here? God, I send her an invite.
Maybe we'll take a moment and see if technology. Good morning, Michelle.
I don't believe, maybe that's not her, maybe it's a different. Sorry, so. I think it'll have,
Okay.
I'll show it on screen if you want, Megan.
Sure.
Okay.
So basically, we have reviewed building inspection fees and charges with council back in December. There are basically no changes with the exception that we are increasing the fees 5% to go in line with the inflation. So at the previous meeting, council, we went through it and there was no questions. I'm not sure if there is anybody from the public that has any questions.
Yeah. I just got a call from Chatham Kent. I wonder if that's Jackie. I wouldn't be calling me. Would they? So
I'll put the call out. If anyone from the public wishes to speak to the increase on the building fees, if you use the raise your hand function in Zoom, I will allow you to speak. We'll make 3 calls for that. If you have any comments or questions, and then we'll move on to council. So this is the first call. Any member of the public that wishes to speak to the building fees, please use the raise your hand function. Can I make a second call for anyone wishing to use the raise your hand function? For speaking to the building fees and charges? Please use your raise the hand function. And this will be the third and final call. Sir, it doesn't appear anyone wishes to speak.
okay. Any questions from council regarding this? Fees and charges. Okay, seeing none.
Oops, sorry.
I guess we're at the point now of to close the public meeting.
Yes, so that West Elgin Council hereby closes the public meeting held pursuant to subsection 7(6) of the Building Code Act RSO 1992 as amended at 9:36 a.m. in order to reconvene in the regular meeting of council.
Need a mover and seconder, please. Bill and Michelle, all in favor? That is carried. Okay, thank you. Next item up is the adoption of the minutes.
So that the minutes of the council meetings held on December 19th, 2022 and November 17th, 2022 be adopted as circulated and printed.
Mover and seconder, moved by Leatham, seconded by Tallier. All in favor? Carried. Is there any business arising from those minutes? I'm seeing none. The consent agenda.
Does anyone wish to move anything from the consent agenda to a discussion? Doesn't appear to. So that West Elgin Council hereby receives and files the consent agenda.
Mover and seconder, please. By Michelle and seconded by Teresa. All in favor? And that is carried.
Okay, so Magda, this is the bylaw. If you want to do the bylaw enforcement
Oh,
for parking, so.
okay, Mr. Mayor and Council, on December 22nd, as you are well aware, our bylaw rep went out the morning of December 22nd and issued parking violation tickets. There was 15 of them. Staff with the bylaw and with we went through the process and number of complaints that we have received in the municipality, and we have decided, the decision was made to cancel all the parking violation tickets and issue refunds for those residents that paid at the office. They will receive a refund from the municipality, and for the ones that paid their fine at the county office, they will receive a refund directly from the county.
I think, Magda, it is the intention that that we will revisit the winter parking bylaw, and that a public education will take place, and certainly on our message signs in the paper, and that ban will, or that bylaw will be enforced. So we'll move forward, and there will be more information coming to the public as we deal with this, because it certainly is a hindrance to our road staff when they are trying to deal with the snowy situation. So more to come. Yes, Michelle.
Through the chair, what is the expense incurred by the municipality for people who don't move their cars? I mean, every municipality has this bylaw. I'm just wondering, just so that people can understand that it's not as simple as, like, yes, leave me your cars, but it probably costs us more time.
Yeah.
Right. So.
And there's a possible damage, cost and damages when, especially during snowy weather, when the visibility is not that good.
Increased
There's a
liability.
potential of
Risk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
huge liability risk.
You've been out in these situations, Lee. What's your expert opinion on weaving and diving around vehicles on the roads?
Well, through the chair, certainly winter time is the most important time, because that is when we have snow and that is when most of the maintenance happens on the streets. in the two towns, but I mean, I guess it's worth pointing out or reminding everybody that this parking bylaw is in effect 365 days a year. It's not a winter parking ban. Our parking bylaw that says no parking on any street between the hours of 3 a.m. and 5 a.m. is year round. So there are things that take place during the summer months too, like street sweeping, when we have the sweepers come in to sweep all the curb and gutter in the towns, multiple times during the spring, summer and fall. If there's vehicles parked along the curb, you can see where they've gone around, which is the same thing as plowing snow, right? There's possible damage from the sweepers. It's the fact that we can't complete the maintenance because they're not able to access that curb the way they should be. So it is the 365-day year. It's not just the winter.
Okay, so certainly more to come, and that those that have received tickets will and they have paid will be receiving refunds. We do have are we notifying those other people that have the tickets that they are canceled, or what's the protocol for that?
We will be sending letters to everyone that received a parking violation ticket.
All right, any other questions that you've got on that? All right. Where are we at now? Oh, good morning, Robert. Are we going to do the road closure? I'm just trying to find this on my
Through the chair, I'll just leave.
8.2, okay. Seven point two, 8.2. Planning, all right. I'm on the right page now. Good morning, Robert.
Good morning, Mr. Mayor, members of council.
Okay. Would you like to lead into this, Robert?
I will be happy to do that. The municipality is in receipt of a letter from Richard Latham, obviously the deputy mayor, for the closure on eventual conveyance of a road allowance to Mr. Latham, who is the abutting landowner. The background on this, Linden Road, it's a local gravel surfaced roadway that runs north-south from BD line to Gibb line. From Gibb line south to O'Malley Road, the open portion of it. There's actually an unopened road allowance, which is also locally known as O'Malley Road. This portion of the road has never been opened for travel. It doesn't contain any municipal services. Yep, just the blue section there is what we're looking at this morning. There's no plans to open this road allowance. There's no drainage outlets. There's no local concerns if this unopened road allowance were to be closed. Property abutting the road allowance to the east and west does have existing access to Linden Road or Gibb Road. Mr. Latham currently has an existing access point at the end of Gibb line. However, the driveway to his dwelling and a portion of the septic system are actually located within the unopened road allowance. Hence the request to address this issue through the closure of this section of O'Malley Road. The closure of any road allowance in a municipality has to follow a formal protocol. Council must first close the road allowance by bylaw. The lands must be declared surplus, and in this case, offered for purchase to any abutting landowners. Potential costs associated with this can include surveying, appraisal of the lands for value, and legal work to complete the transfer. Traditionally, these costs are the responsibility of the purchasing landowner or owners, if there are more than one, and the municipality generally looks to simply recoup costs associated with the land disposition. There's no planning issues around the road closure. All of the surrounding lands, including the road allowance itself, are in the same agricultural A1 zone. Should council adopt the recommendation, to start the road closure process. An additional report will be prepared and brought back to council that will outline the associated costs for the conveyance of the lands to the requesting landowner. Unless there's questions from council, that's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you very much. This on open road allowances, I understand it, Lee, has no end destination of any significance to West Elgin. So any council have any other questions regarding this? Unfortunately, a lot of this should have been caught back at severance time. But I guess it wasn't, so we can deal with it now. Seeing no other questions, how would you like to proceed, Madam Clerk?
I can read the recommendation.
Okay.
If it's your wish. The West Elgin Council hereby receives the report from Robert Brown, planner, regarding the request to close the unopened portion of the O'Malley Road allowance from Gibb Line East to the easterly limit of property at 23855 Gibb Lane and council direct administration to begin the formal road closure process for the unopened portion of O'Malley Road.
Okay, you all heard the recommendation, mover and seconder. Moved by Bill and seconded by Michelle. All in favor? That is carried. And we will look forward to further reports from staff. Thank you, Robert.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, operations and community service, Lee. A recommendation, Madam Clerk.
Do you want Lee to discuss the report, present it before? he gets
Whatever
it?
comes first, chicken or the egg.
He needs to present it.
Okay. Wait.
So through the chair, good morning, council. We had a request come in. As you know, we received an ICIP grant for the reconstruction of Blacks Road between Highway 401 and Johnson Line. That included repairing, rehabilitating bridge number 6 at McDougall Road and replacing the box culvert at Kintyre Line. And as part of that grant, after that works was done, there will be drainage work, so ditching, new culverts, and then the final phase of that project is to hard surface that stretch of Blacks Road from 401 to Johnson Line. It is a busy road. Traffic counts are fairly substantial because people use that road to come from Johnson Line across. There's a lot of agricultural traffic because of the elevator located at the corner of Blacks Road and McMillan Line. So that's all part of one project. We got the money for that in 2019, and just because of COVID and getting the required sign-offs, we started that project this year. The plan is as you've probably seen on the signs and in the website, the construction of the box culvert just finished up this week, and that has been reopened now. So this summer, the plan is to do the associated drainage works along the road. That'll be done in-house by municipal staff. And then the following year in 2024, it will be hard surfaced, that stretch to complete the project. We did have a request to consider continuation of that hard surface from Johnson Line north to Fleming Line, which is 2 concessions. So I think, without getting too much into, if council has questions on the report, there are, on that stretch of road, there are 2 residences, both in that first concession between Johnson Line and Gibb. Then there's nothing between Gibb and Fleming. So when you look at the intersections there, the intersection at Gibb, if you're to go west on Gibb from Blacks to Clathen, that is it's a no winter maintenance section of road, so it's not maintained year round. There's no homes on that section of road. if you go east of Blacks Road on Gibb to Furnival, there are approximately 6 homes there. They are on the half that's closest to Furnival. So, you know, there's the majority of those homes are closer to the Furnival intersection than they are to Blacks. Then if you go north to the next to where Blacks Road ends, that's Fleming Line. So there's approximately 14 homes on Fleming Line between Clathen Road and Furnival Road. So that whole stretch. So these 14 homes plus the 6 on Gibb would be homes that may make use of Blacks Road from Fleming to Johnson. So as I put in the report, there's things that we look at, or there's things that are considered when you're looking at whether or not to spend the money to hard surface a road. It's you know, how many residents are affected by it. It's you have the report, Jana. I'm having a hard time logging into so it's the residents affected. We look at daily traffic counts is a big one. The traffic counts on this section of Blacks Road are probably are much lower than that of Blacks Road south of Johnson Line. I went back to our traffic counts from 2018 and 2019, so the 2 years before COVID, and took an average of that. So we're averaging somewhere in that 70 cars a day range on that stretch. 2018 was actually below 50, but 2019 was over 90. So that makes that stretch a class 4, between a class 4 and a class 6 road, just depending on. So, you know, that in traffic counts compared to other gravel roads in the municipality and other surface treated roads in the municipality is definitely on the low side. So we look at the traffic counts. We look at what types of vehicles are going to use the road, because obviously that plays a large part into, you know, what we have to do as far as preparing the road. You know, we look at whether or not that if we surface treat that portion of road, whether that's going to make a connection between 2 paved roads. Like we want, number one, we want that loop for maintenance purposes. And then number 2, you know, it makes sense if people are traveling from one paved section to another hardtop section, right? It's that connection. You know, we look at, are there any features on the road that if we hard surface that road, you know, if there's very sharp curves or steep hills, and the traffic counts warranted, is that going to make that road safer by hard surfacing? Are there any features as far as, you know, one is the hard surface that goes from Morrison Road down to BD Haven to the nursing home there. Obviously that is a benefit for the nursing home. So we look at that. And then, you know, it's the capital expense. Yes, there is less maintenance for a surface treated road. So at the, just up a little bit, Jana. So, you know, there are benefits and there are drawbacks that you have to consider. A hard surface or a surface treated road is going to be smoother and more stable. You know, it's going to eliminate the dust in the summertime, obviously. And there is a reduction in maintenance costs. If you look a surface treated road, we typically look at 12 to 15 year lifespan for that road before something major has to be done with it. So once you have that capital expense in your first year, your maintenance costs over that next 12 years are relatively low compared to a gravel road where you're having to apply gravel every 3 or 4 years and you're having to apply dust suppressant every year. But with the gravel road, you know, if you don't have that large upfront cost. So we do see on roads that have been surface treated, it is a proven fact that your speeds are going to increase when you go from a gravel road to a surface treated road. Surface treated roads are very susceptible to damage from, you know, heavy trucks, large agricultural equipment. We get that edge creep, you know, there's patching that needs to be done. if something accidentally drops into the road and digs it up, you know, a gravel road, if somebody makes a sharp turn and chews the road up, we can go out with the grader and half an hour later, it's all fixed up. Excuse me, whereas a, you know, a surface street road is much harder to repair and much more costly to repair if it's damaged. In the winter time with surface treated roads, we do have to maintain them differently. On a gravel road, the grader goes down and plows the snow and ice blades it to stir up some of that gravel. And that's how we treat gravel roads. With a surface treated road, obviously we can't, for ice control, we can't use the blades of the grader, so we have to apply products. So sand, salt, they have to be, surface treated roads have to be plowed with a truck, and they have to have material applied to them to remove the snow and ice. So there is an extra expense in the winter time. And like I said, the last thing is that capital investment. That's the trade-off, is you have that big expense in year one to make that conversion, but you have lower maintenance costs over the life of the road. So just at a very high level for council, we typically, if we do identify a road for a conversion, we typically budget between $80,000 to $100,000 per kilometer to make that conversion. So this stretch of Blacks Road from Johnson Line north to Fleming is 2.4 kilometers. So, you know, you're looking at somewhere in that $190,000 to $240,000 range if we were to move forward with that. So,
Questions for Lee? Anything else you want to add to the end of it there, Lee? I think you've covered it quite well. Bill?
Through the chair to Lee, you mentioned that the flow of traffic on that section of the road is about 77 cars a day as of last year. Is there any other gravel roads in our municipality that would have a flow of traffic on a daily basis that is higher than that?
Yes, that like I said, even for gravel roads in the municipality, that would be on the low side of our traffic counts.
How would that end of Blacks Road compared to, let's use an example of another stretch of road that I know that I've had a number of conversations with being Downey Line, and it's usage for people that are going to the landfill. You have a traffic count off it?
I wouldn't have it right in front of me. It would certainly be much more. You know, we're well over on that section of Blacks Road from 401 to Queens Line. You know, we're, depending on the year, if you go back and average it out, we're pushing between 250 and 300 cars a day. So like I said, this just because of the fact that there's only 2 residences on that whole stretch of road, and then the fact that you have Gibb Line that has nobody to the west and only very few to the east, which are down closer to Furnival, and then you have the people that live along Fleming. You know, that's why we wouldn't expect to see a large traffic count on that road.
And again, we have the infrastructure money to assist us in this work that we have done. But at this point in time, we really haven't got an accounting or an understanding of what the project is going to ultimately cost us. We don't have any final tenders on a lot of the work that needs to be done, and that probably won't be in place till 2024, correct? Or 2023.
Well, yeah, we don't have a you know, we won't know until the project is completed, but the money that was given through the grant for ICIP for the reconstruction of Blacks Road between 401 and Johnson Line, that money has to be used for the reconstruction of Blacks Road between 401 and Johnson Line. It's can't, you know, if we end up coming in 50,000 under budget on that project, we can't take that 50,000 and allocate it somewhere else. We submit invoices to the government on a semi-annual basis based on the work that we're doing in that section for that project. So it's not like there's going to be additional funds from that for something else.
That's good to know. Richard? Go ahead.
No, all I was gonna say is, everyone knows, I think in this room, that I'm really for putting hardtop on gravel roads. For the simple reason, when you look at the dusty present price, and when you snow clear, the chippings go in the verges, and the next spring you have to put them back again. There's a huge stone, you know, that all, and then that's every year without fail. So I think one big expense, and it's done for all those years, is, and bringing Canada more into the modern world, I think it's a must. And ever since I've been on council, I've always gone for tarmac roads. And I think if we did one a year, that's all I was asking. One north of the 401, one south of the 401, and eventually we would get them done. That's all I have to say.
I think in our position, we have to prioritize that through some structured process that we try to look after the higher traffic roads first, so. Yes, Bill?
Just a question on behalf of one of our constituents, or a point that there is a road that's paved with no homes on it between Queen and Pioneer. So I'm guessing maybe Lee can provide a justification why that was important.
Well, I can certainly, I know what road we're talking about. I guess two things to that. I can't, number one, I can't speak to the justification as to why that was surface treated before I began with the municipality. So to speak to justification as to why they did that, I can't say. I will say that there is no homes on that road, but it does meet the criteria connected to paved roads, Queens Line and Pioneer Line. And there is a lot of traffic that use that road. I don't have the traffic count in front of me right now, but a lot of people coming off 401 at Graham Road that are going to parts of the municipality in the south that are not wanting to go through the two towns. You know, they come up Queens Line and they go across Kerr Road, which is the road that we're talking about. And then from there, straight out Kerr up Pioneer towards Rodney, whatever. So there is, you know, the traffic count, I certainly can get that and provide it for council, but that traffic count on Kerr Road would be higher than Blacks Road that we're talking about. The section of Blacks Road that we're talking about.
How current are our traffic counts? Are they an ongoing?
We will be doing them. We've missed a couple years now with COVID, but we will be doing them again this year. We plan on doing the full traffic count this year. We did have traffic counts. We were doing them every summer right up until 2020. So they're current as of 2020.
So at this point in time, the road budget doesn't have a significant amount of money in it to do any hard surface projects.
Well, I mean, no, we had to redo Marsh Line last year, as council remembers, or those that were on council remember. That was turned under and the drainage work was completed and it was resurfaced. So you know, we're in budget deliberations now. I think going back to Councillor Leatham's comments about long-term, I think that's maybe a conversation if this council feels or chooses that that's, you know, something that they want to look at as a long-term plan, you know, to set aside so much a year for hard surfacing roads. I mean, that's more of a strategic goal for, you know, the next 10, 20, you know, 25 years. Then that's something that we can look at, certainly, but there would still be, I mean, you'd have to sit down and decide, you know, how much you want to do, how much you want to spend. We'd have to, you know, we'd have to come up with, well, we typically have now, like we have a criteria that we kind of assess roads based on those things that I pointed out in the report. And, you know, you would have to do it. You'd have to choose those roads each year kind of based on that criteria. And, you know, I can say that very honestly, that section of Black's Road north of Johnson Line is not a section that staff would have identified as a good candidate for conversion. Whether it was through a request or whether it was just us prioritizing roads, so.
The potential of $200,000 to $250,000 of funding to reconstruct that road. What would that be in a percentage tax increase that we would have to show just for that section of road? 5, 6?
8.
Tax increases section of road. If it's not planned for, so we can see our certainly looking at trying to do the roads that are most in need. Yes, Tress.
Good morning. Through the chair, I do get a lot of requests, just verbal ones in regards to Downey Line. Mostly the west side of Downey Line from Furnival. I've never had one for any other road last term or this term starting. And when we put the numbers on what it would be to resurface and look at that road and you know, what it looks like, as Mr. Gosnell said, to do the dust control and such on it, I then don't get any more requests from those residents. They seem to understand how much it would affect the tax base and everything when we put, and there's quite a few residents along that stretch there between Blacks and Furnival on that stretch of Downey. So I think it's a larger picture and maybe a bigger discussion.
Would it be reasonable, is council want staff to come back with a long-term, taking into consideration what Richard has said, looking at a longer term plan as to how we can do this? Is it a matter we set so much money every year away in a budget to be able to do these projects, or what would you like to do? To give some direction.
It sounds like it's a huge tax increase for us to even consider paving small portions of roads, and we're not at a point where we have the tax base to sustain this. So I would think that it sounds like the department has set up criteria for introducing roads that need to be paved. So taking more of Lee's time to be looking into something that may be a pipe dream at this current moment seems like a waste of staff resources to me.
Other comments on that?
Through the chair, I agree with Councillor Navakas. It also at the same time, we are still trying to work towards our asset management plan that is not even near completion. So I think it's going to take several years before we tackle, other things.
One thing that we do probably need to keep in the back of our mind is that provincial grants pop up out of the grass like weeds. So we need to take advantage of those when they come along, and if there's an opportunity, I would imagine that very quickly our staff could identify a best and highest those dollars. So do you want to have Lee investigate any more of the requests for the extension on Blacks Road?
So I'm getting that West Elgin Council is just going to receive this report for information purposes.
Okay,
Is that what you,
all
okay,
right, that's fine.
so I just need a mover and seconder for
Mover
that.
and seconder for that. By Michelle and seconded by Bill, all in favor? Carried.
So this next report is just appointing the engineers for the drains that you guys had previously approved for major maintenance, the Primac, Stricker and Calixte municipal drains. So I can just read the resolution if you're comfortable.
Please.
West Elgin Council hereby receives a report from Janet Nethercott Clerk, reappoint engineers for various municipal drains. And that West Elgin Council hereby appoints Spreet and Associate Engineers and Architects to prepare engineers reports for the following municipal drains: Primac, Stricker and Calixte municipal drain.
Mover and seconder, please. Moved by Teresa and seconded by Bill. All in favor? That is carried.
And then this is separate because it's a section 4, it's a brand new drain. So that West Elgin Council hereby receives a report from Janet Nethercott Clerk, reappoint engineer for a new municipal drain construction. And that West Elgin Council hereby appoints Spreet and Associate Engineers and Architects to prepare engineers report for the new municipal drain construction as requested by Scott Mohan under section 4 of the Drainage Act.
Okay, moved by Leatham and seconded by Michelle. All in favor? That is carried.
The next is our appointment to the Elgin Group Police Services Board. I think I explained it fairly well in the report, why we are continuing on appointing Ida with the new community police. The board may be dissolved in 3 weeks' time. It may be dissolved in 2 years. It just makes more sense for continuation, and Ida is comfortable staying on, and she's been a good representative for Western Elgin. So if you guys are comfortable, I'll read the resolution.
Go ahead, please.
That West Elgin Council hereby receives a report from Janet Nethercott Clerk, reappoint the Elgin Group Police Services Board, and that West Elgin Council hereby appoints Ida McCollum as a representative to the Elgin Group Police Services Board as a community representative from Western Elgin.
Mover and seconder, please. Moved by Teresa, seconded by Michelle. All in favor? That is carried.
This report is about our 2 advisory committees. I explained in the report about when they've met, when they haven't. I just wanted to get council's direction if you're comfortable with the 2 council representatives meeting with maybe staff of us and the economic development from the county to see about getting economic development up and going. It hasn't really been reviewed or talked about since 2014. And I think it's a good idea to do that before we ask for members of the community to sit on a committee. It's that way we have good direction. And then I also wanted to just clarify where we're at with the recreation committee. I have heard from 2 members of the previous recreation committee that are eligible to return. They want to. One I have not yet heard from. So I think I will put out a call for 2 members of the recreation committee as per the committee or as per the policy, if that works with everybody.
Okay, well, let's start with economic development. What are the thoughts of the 2 members?
Through the chair, I had asked Heather when she was here, but then Jana, I looked at the TOR of the Economic Development Committee, and I think that some changes were necessary. And as it hadn't met, I'm hesitant to ask members who are sitting on it back. It seems like a fresh start is the best way.
You're agreeing with the process presented by
I think we're in a very different situation in the community than we were in 2014. And I think the Economic Development Committee needs to reflect where we are and what our priorities may be.
Bill, your thoughts?
So Michelle and I have spoken about this previously, and I agree that it's an opportunity for us to recalibrate for 2023. Possibly new terms of reference, possibly simplify those terms of reference, and an opportunity to reach out to some of the new businesses that have started up here in West Elgin and hear from them and hear what the needs of a business in West Elgin in 2023 are as opposed to 2014.
Okay, Madam Clerk, how do you want to proceed with that? You want to deal with them one by one?
No, I'll do, yeah, we can do a resolution for everything. I'll let you discuss the economic development or recreation, and then I'll put a resolution together.
Okay. So you want to do the economic development resolution then?
I'm going to do them as one.
You're gonna do the most one?
Yeah.
Okay, so recreation. Teresa, you're close to that committee.
Yeah, so we haven't met for quite some time as in the report, so I think it's good to go and call out for any other community members that would want to be part of it and go from there and see what we can pull together again in this new term. I knew they were working on that draft term of reference, so we can pull that together and present that.
Okay. Any other questions on that? Okay, Madam Clerk, you have a resolution to,
So West Elgin Council hereby receives a report from Janet Nethercott Clerk, Re-Advisory Committees, and that West Elgin Council hereby directs staff to proceed with hosting discussions with the Elgin County Economic Development to update the Economic Development Committee terms of reference and to proceed as per the advisory committee policy for the West Elgin Recreation Committee.
mover and seconder. Latham and Denning, all in favor? Carried. Committee and board reports, any reports from councils on any committees that they've been involved with? I know things have been somewhat slow over the Christmas holidays and that probably will speed up. I know certainly in my situation, it's daily things now. But we will keep moving forward. Yes, Richard.
It was just that I know next council meeting, the police are coming to, they're not.
They're not,
Oh,
it was canceled. We are trying to reschedule for another
okay,
date. It's
but
gonna be-
maybe I could get some numbers because that inspector did say he would help me get community policing on board. So I'd like to talk to him again, and that was going to be my opportunity. But if I could have some numbers, I could contact him, and then I need his support to get the community policing going again. So
Okay. We can. We have, oh, go ahead. You were there.
The mayor and I had our inaugural arena board meeting yesterday with members of Dutton Dunwich. I suppose the only thing of importance to report at this point is that we're all eagerly waiting to hear back from Ontario Minor Hockey with regarding the Westland Minor Hockey program. And once we know what their decision is, the arena will be in a better position to look at finances for next year. But certainly the minor hockey program here in Western Elgin is a big part of what we do at the arena.
And it is over the last year very robust, and it's wonderful to see. And you know, I just cannot say enough about our staff at the arena. For those of you that have been in it, for a facility of that age, it's a wonderful facility. It's kept clean, it's bright, it's everything that it should be, and certainly to Lee and his oversight and the staff that's working under them, it's a great job. And even the arena board committee, it's just a pleasure to sit on that committee because everyone is very objective and done, which is very good to work with. Michelle?
Through the chair, has there been anything said about the letter that was sent about hockey and them looking at
That-
changing?
We're still waiting on a decision.
When would that be coming through?
Mentioned at the meeting yesterday, possibly a response next week.
And certainly from minor hockey's perspective, they did their due diligence in responding to Ontario minor hockey. So kudos out to those people too. Anything else? Lee, have you got anything to add to the arena board?
No, I think you've covered it.
Okay. Any other committee reports? Seeing none, upcoming meetings and events for County Transit Committee meeting, January 16th. I guess that meeting will be looking for a new chair, as Bonnie has been the chair over the last number of years, so. Our council meeting, January 26th, and Tri-County Water Board meet and greet the new committee. I don't believe we're having an official meeting that night. Are we?
No, it's not an official meeting. We may not even we wouldn't, as of now, we might not have quorum, but that's not regardless. There'll be no business discussed. It's just I realize you guys did a tour of the plant as part of your orientation, but none of the other members have been in that plant. I think most of them at least for 4 years, if they are a returning member. So as part of the standard of care, it is one of those things that they suggest you get familiar with the plant. So we're going to do that. And we generally have been holding our meetings electronically. So this is a nice way for people to actually see each other face to face, because we do have, of the 12 members of the board, 6 are new.
So, yeah, under the course yesterday with the Ontario Clean Water Agency or the Walkerton school, that was one of the things that they seem to stress very well is as a member that is responsible for water, that it's imperative that you actually see and understand how your system works. All righty, next item up is accounts. As we, our format has been to keep the meeting as brief as possible. If you have any questions, please get them to Magda prior to the meeting and she will have time to answer those questions. But we are at the point now with your first voucher that I always think that as new council members sitting down and holding up your hand in support of the voucher for almost $3 million, I know was fairly undaunting the first time I did that, but certainly having trust in our treasurer, we know that it's warranted. So seeing there's probably no questions, or there shouldn't be any questions unless you have a supplementary. That being said, would you read the account recommendation, Madam Clerk?
Sure. The mayor and treasurer are hereby authorized to sign payment voucher number 1 amounting to $2,759,683.53 in settlement of general road, water, and arena accounts, including electronic fund transfer 5983 to 6176, online payments number 1038 to 1054, and check number 26084 to 26107, and payroll for pay periods 25 and 26.
I would entertain a mover and seconder for the accounts. Latham and Michelle. All in favor? That is carried. Okay, items for consideration requiring discussion. Rodney Kiwanis Club Road closure request.
So they did request for every week of Toonie Tuesday. We took the liberty of following a similar protocol as last year, where we where we're recommending the opening and final nights. Those tend to be their busiest nights, because it does cost the municipality to close the road. So it's council's discretion. That's just what we staff are proposing. And the county does not love it closed every Tuesday. No.
Okay, any comments regarding the request and the recommendation that's before you? Yes, Bill?
Through the chair, just an estimate of the cost associated with closing the road, just so that in my mind, it can be converted into an in-kind donation or a value.
I believe last year I provided council with a price of between $500 and $700 each time we close that section of downtown, based on the time of day and whether or not it's overtime for staff to come in.
Thank you.
Michelle?
Through the chair, Lee, would it cost us the same amount to close from Dennings, like on that side street, as it does closing?
Yeah, it would cost us the same amount to close any street, because it's the staff time to do the setup, to bring the trailers. And typically for events like this, they are coming in with the Toonie Tuesdays. We try and do the setup at the end of their regular shift, so it's not overtime. But then obviously them coming back in to take all that down and reopen the road after the event would be overtime for our staff.
Again, getting back to the Toonie Tuesday, does anybody know the status of the ice cream store? That's an integral part of the whole.
Through the chair, if we don't have to pay upfront for the road closure, so
No.
if something changes, we aren't on the,
Okay.
I can reach out.
Yeah,
To
it's
the-
just. Okay, any more discussion on the request for road closures? We'll move and read the recommendation and
The West Elgin Council hereby approves the Rodney Kiwanis Club's request to close Furnival Road as follows. For Toonie Tuesday opening night, August 8th, 2023, from 4 PM to 8:30 PM. On Toonie Tuesday final night, August 29th, 2023, from 4 PM to 8:30 PM. And for the Rodney Night Market scheduled November 18th, 2023, from 1 PM to 10 PM.
okay. Yes,
Make that motion.
moved by Bill, seconded by Teresa, all in favor? Great. You look like you got a question.
I do, I didn't realize we were also going to vote on the night market. So that's all, I will
I-
follow up with them myself.
I was gonna say it's municipal staff didn't sit on the committee last year. They didn't request a lot of help, but part of the novelty when it started was that it was in the downtown core so that it would support the downtown businesses as well.
Yeah.
And that's why the vendors are in the street and facing out to the sidewalks so that we didn't close off any businesses. And I know that, say, the dollar store, for instance, did a month's worth of business that one night. So it was kind of an economic development support for both the bricks and mortar business as well, and hosting it elsewhere would not help the restaurants or the businesses in the same
Way.
manner.
Yep.
And I know Southwest Middlesex, Glencoe actually followed along and they fought with their county, but got it for the same idea and found, because of the success that we had, and more communities are looking at it as an economic development booster for the bricks and mortar as well as tourism.
Okay. I guess we have the resolution or the recommendation moved and seconded. I'll call the vote, all in favor? And that is carried.
So now we're on to a second request from the Rodney Kiwanis Club. So this is for their waiver of fees for the pancake supper at the Recreation Center on February 21st. We have estimated the cost of the waiver of fees in the 2022 fees and charges. That's what it said. So the February 21st, the pancake supper would be a cost of $425 of lost revenue. Rodney Recreation Center on April 8th from 8 AM to 12 noon for the Easter egg hunt, and that would be a loss of $120 revenue. And Rodney Recreation Meeting Room Wednesdays for their 18 occurrence meetings, and that's a cost of $900 a year.
Okay, what's your pleasure? I think the pancake supper is one of the events that's quite attended very well.
Yeah, it's a by donation supper, sorry, just so I
Yeah,
can indicate
yeah.
that.
Yes,
Through the chair, so just a couple of questions. And certainly the Rodney Kiwanis Club and all the things they do are incredible and they make our community a better place. Last couple of meetings ago, we had a discussion about costs associated with shuffleboard. So in an effort to be fair to all of our wonderful organizations, I guess my question is, have we waived fees for use of the rec center before? And if so, what's the justification, or how do we quantify what is worth donating our facilities for versus somebody comes to us and wants the facility for something else and we say that doesn't cut the mustard. I just curious.
I was hoping you were going to be able to answer that question too, because it's eluded us around the table here for a long time. Michelle.
Through the chair, at the same point as a person with a sibling, and you try to keep things fair, if we add up the donation that the municipality is making with the 3 road closures And the rec center, it's nearing $3,000. I'm just wondering then if the Optimus comes and the shuffleboard comes, how. Sometimes I think we need to have kind of rules in place so that it's fair across the board, and what is our decision making? What makes one group's request more valid than another?
This is not where our grant application should come in. Where we open it up and then it is looked at across the board at everybody in our community, and they bring it at one time and we have that discussion at one time. And then we're not doing this Councilor Denny and Councilor Bacchus, we're doing kind of a pick and choose and decide and making it a little more, I guess the word would be fair across the board.
So council grants are out. The reason these came in is they felt there was an urgency that we might not have the budget done in time for these ones.
That makes sense.
Any staff know what is the practices, say in Dutton Dunwich with their community center, with Glencoe and their facilities? Do we know what happens there?
No, Mr. Mayor, we didn't have a chance to investigate that, but when it comes to service groups, for instance, Kiwanis Club or Optimist Club, when they ask for waiver of fees for the use of our rec center, in the past, council would always grant them that option. And knowing how much these service groups are doing in our community. So yes, we do lose our revenue on the recreation side, but when you look at the pool side and at the arena side, they are investing money in our community as they're the ones that are sponsoring public skates, swim days. So I think they should be, when it comes to the council's decision, the council should consider that fact as well.
Their insurance.
The-
So we can take supper.
They're required to either purchase it from us or provide us with their own. Yes.
Spell.
So what Mrs. Badura has described to us is that historically there has been felt that there is a return on investment for supporting the service clubs using our facilities because they are putting so much back into our community. And if somebody came to us looking to use our facilities and we as a council and staff felt that there was not the same return in investment, that we could say no and feel justified in that decision based on what we receive from these service clubs on a case-by-case basis.
I think we've kind of balanced it off between classifying service clubs or commercial entities. I think commercial entities, we do charge, I believe the gun show, I believe that is a paid event, those type of things. So yes, Michelle.
I have been satisfied,
Oh,
and
okay.
so I'm comfortable if once the recommendation's read to make that motion.
Okay, do I have a seconder for it? By Michelle? All in favor? Carried. Okay, we're going down to council inquiries and announcements. Anyone have a notice of motion put in place for upcoming meeting? Seeing none, statements and inquiries by councilors. Anybody have anything they would like to share with us? Yes, Michelle.
I've been investigating the idea of night meetings.
Mhm.
What has been interesting to me is that there are now two different sources of information coming out. So originally, when I proposed this, I really believe in engagement and the democratic process. And some studies have shown that having evening meetings will increase the number of candidates you'll see running. It may also increase participation. That being said, I would like to come back because I've been doing some research and I was talking to the City of London and they have gone to night meetings and now they are looking to go back to daytime meetings. So this is more an exploratory conversation. I do feel that a daytime meeting is somewhat limiting to the people we are going to have around this table. And I think it's important that we encourage community members who want to make a difference, have the opportunity to run. And it's difficult to take 2 days off a week from work. But like I said, I had an interesting conversation this morning. So it's more just what is best for our community and what is best for political engagement. As we don't have voter turnout and only one riding this year was an election, to me, that is not a healthy democracy. So what steps can we as a municipality be taking to change that for the next election? So
we have tried to give the public opportunities for evening meetings, and the response was pretty well nil. And I think when you find about the turnout for councillors, etc., I think you'll find that it was fairly general this election for whatever reason. I don't think it was just West Elgin only.
Further to that, so political pundits have, and research has shown that without a mayor's race, you have next to no turnout, also included in your councillor ward races. A hot mayor's race is what attracts candidates and voters. And 66% of mayors across the province were acclaimed. Almost 60% of councils across the province were fully acclaimed. So we were in the minority where we had one race. And it's voter apathy. There has been, that I believe that was province wide. But I do agree, I understand. And I just kind of a comment towards that. When we have a zoning issue that seems like it's going to be very taught, or like, for instance, anything we've done with Seaside, we have always held a night public meeting for that. It's not necessarily a council meeting, it's the public meeting. This council has always, and staff have always been comfortable with holding public information sessions in the evening, things like that too. So we do what we can, but yes, either way, obviously it's council's choice.
through the chair, and I think that we have seen a bit of a population shift in West Elgin since the previous time we tried this. And through the cafe and meeting people, it is something that I have heard as a suggestion. But like I said, I think more so I'm just looking for the research. And if it doesn't lead in actual fact to more engagement and it costs more and there's staffing costs to it, then it's not. Keep it during the day. I wonder if we were at night, would we see more engagement with the people who have moved into our community, who do seem to be asking the questions, who do seem to want to be involved in the meetings? How many people are watching the video after we've put it up? Is there a way to tell that?
Yes.
Yeah, our YouTube channel does, and we average for somewhere between, depending on the meeting, anywhere between, last I looked anyway, anywhere between 14 and 30 views.
I think Central Ogden mentioned the other day that of a population of, I don't know, 12, 13,000, I think they get around 70 views.
Through the chair, I'm on the youth task team, and I know last time they wanted to bring something to council. The youth couldn't bring something to council because it's during the day. They can't come or be virtual or whatever because they're in school. So that's one example. And I've just had like a little bit of feedback over the last term that people would enjoy some nighttime meetings here and there, not always, but here and there. So something to think about again. And are we not the only council in all of Elgin that meets during the day? That's what I thought. So I don't know, it just seems, I really don't care about the research logically. If someone's working a job, like their career, and they would like to be a political voice, they can't be if it's daytime. I'm looking at the Dutton Council right now. Several of them from last term and this term wouldn't have ran for council if the meetings are during the day, and they're great voices for their community. And that's just one example of a council where I know what their background is. So it'd be great to explore it again.
Michelle.
And I would also suggest that I don't think any of us are council members for the money, but that we are asking people who are on council to either adjust or have to employ more or add expenses to the daytime when we were having daytime meetings. And I speak solely from myself that I, as a small business owner, signed up for this knowing this, but I do need to then pay 2 people to be working for me so that I can be attending the meetings. And I would feel that a lot of people would be in the same situation, or we're asking people who have the opportunity to shift work to have to work on, say, a Saturday or Sunday so that they can attend a Thursday meeting. And once again, it may prevent people from running.
This is the wonderful thing about having fresh eyes, fresh ideas. Councils. What are your thoughts on this, Bill? From a man that works days, nights, all
Well,
night, all day.
more importantly than my own personal thoughts, of course, is what Nancy and Teresa have alluded to is the feeling of the community. And coincidentally, I think that the feeling of the community and my personal feelings are very indifferent about it. That if it's a daytime meeting, you're giving something up. If it's an evening meeting, you're giving something up. So whatever we end up landing on, whether we've done the research or continue to reach out to our community to truly hear how they feel, and we find that there is the community's leaning stronger one way or the other, then I think that that's something that we need to consider. But at the end of the day, I think we make it work the best we can.
I have had the opportunity over my career of having both day and night. And I'm indifferent either way.
So what about, there's 2 options. I'm wondering if you would like us to do a survey. We can do it through our website
Mhm.
and paper. B, the other option is, what about alternating? First meeting of the month, the day, second meeting of the month, night. Maybe we try and keep planning to a night meeting because that seems to be the most interactive. Public, I don't know, it's up to you. I mean, we can't always do that because of timing, but what about something like that? Would you like staff to report back on options?
I think that would be it. And I mean, pilot project here, see if it does make any difference to our residents. I say I'm indifferent either way. The only thing that I would suggest, if we are leaning to go towards a night meeting, that it doesn't start at 7 o'clock. It starts earlier in the afternoon, 5 o'clock, usually 4 o'clock. Usually those type of meetings are begin at an earlier evening, because I know I have experienced the fact that night meetings that run on to midnight or longer are not good for staff people that have to be on duty the next day. And I know with many nights I would go home and the marbles would rattle around in my head until the early morning. And I used to offset that with watching question period at the legislature, which seemed to be like melatonin. It would put you back to sleep as quick as anything. So how do you want to move forward this? What staff direction do you want to give? Anybody sum it up and yes, Bill?
I think that Jana's suggestion is a good one, that we reach out to our community and through perhaps a survey on our website and see what they think, and we go from there.
Okay,
So I can
everybody,
report back on that if
Okay.
you guys want to give
Yeah.
me direction.
staff direction, if you'll proceed with that, would be wonderful. Anything else?
I have something. I am, through the chair, I am in the process of scheduling integrity commissioner with our integrity commissioner some training courses. One actually, between 2 to 2.5 hours. I did receive your responses. Just want to confirm before I reach out, is January 30th from 9 to 11:30, good with council. January 30th, that's, I believe it's Monday. 9 till 10:30.
Through the chair. That's the same
11:30.
day as the Tri-County is.
Tri-County's at night.
It's at night.
Yeah.
Yes,
One in the day and one at night.
yeah.
Welcome to my world.
Okay.
So is everyone good with that?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll schedule for that date and time. Thank you.
That it for you?
That's it. Thank you.
So we're now at closed session, so I just need to lock.
Nobody has any matters of urgency?
Well, that, oh, sorry.
That was it.
So I need,
Anyone else have a matter of urgency? What we will do is we will go into our closed session, and once we're in closed, we will take a break.
Yeah.
Okay, do you need want me to read the recommendation and we'll get into closed?
I can read the recommendation, sorry, first. The Council of the Municipality of West Elgin hereby proceeds into closed session at 10:47 a.m. in order, under section 239 2B, in order to give consideration to items pertaining to personal matters about identifiable individuals, including municipal or local board employees.
Okay, over in seconder. Moved by Michelle, seconded by Richard, all in favor? That is carried.
Okay, so just have to remove everyone.
Night meetings would be good. I hate getting up in the morning now. How much does the quarter wood go for? 85. Yeah. Okay. All right, you need one?
Yeah. I don't know anymore. I haven't bought it forever. Always has.